Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome to All Hang Up and Listen. I know we're on kind of late tonight, not starting until 11:39 on the dot. But a huge night for the Buffalo Sabres and all the Sabres fans who lived through the glory years of the early to late 2000s, where we were, that Stanley Cup in 06 was taken from us, and all the years after that, just before and after, just the fun times to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. Got to relive that tonight on Ryan Miller night. Not only inducted into the Buffalo Sabres Hall of Fame, but also had his number raised to the rafters right next to RJ and fellow goaltender Dominic Hasek. But tonight was all about Ryan Miller. All the alumni in attendance, from Andrew Peters, Craig Rivet, Thomas Vanek. I believe maybe Jason Pominville was there as well. Just a ton of people in attendance, and awesome like experience to be a part of. I just can't say enough how much fun I had at this game. Just barely missed the Hall of Fame ceremony, where I guess Hasek did a video, inducted him via video, which was pretty cool. And then, getting to sit through the ceremony itself and, hear Ryan give his speech was absolutely phenomenal. Just a great night all around. And I was really happy to be a part of it. And a couple of clicks for my buddy Mike Heyer for hooking up with the tickets, for me and producer Steve to go tonight. Great time all around. So, if you guys just give me one moment, apparently my laptop is about to die. I thought it had a full charge. Apparently I was wrong. Let's get this thing plugged in. There we go. Apologize for that, everybody. But anyways, just a great night all around, and ending in dramatic fashion. Rasmus Dahlin with a pass that, I tweeted out earlier, a pass and catch from Dylan Cousins. A pass from Dahlin and a catch from Dylan Cousins that would make Allen and Diggs blush. That's how sexy it was. And just a great way to finish it. Dahlin kind of, backpedaling a little bit, waiting for that perfect lane to open up, and him just saucing it up the middle of the ice, airborne, and Dylan times it perfectly, crosses the line on sides as the puck crosses the line, and cradles it with a stick. A great catch by him. Goes in all alone on Sorokin, who had a phenomenal game, and beats him with the shot. And you can see the look on his face, too, afterwards. It was like, I can't believe we just lost that game. I made 45 saves and we lost. Sorokin, honest to God, in my opinion, as great as UPL was, Sorokin was the best player on the ice tonight, by far. He put on a clinic tonight. UPL had a phenomenal game, but Sorokin put on a clinic tonight. And how fitting is that? Both goaltenders playing as well as they did, on a night honoring arguably the greatest American-born goaltender that ever lived. For me, it's not very arguable. I'm sure that, many people would argue, say names like Mike Richter or Jonathan Quick. But for me, it's Ryan Miller. I think that, winning a Vezina, the silver medal, MVP of the Olympics, had one of the greatest college careers of all time for any goaltender back when he, attended Michigan State. I just look at his career as a whole, at myself as a goalie, and just how he approached the game. And there was always a reason in the post-game interviews that they always went to Ryan Miller, because he was just an absolute student of the game. He looked at the game from every different angle, and always had a very philosophical answer for anybody who asked questions. And it was always like, me as a goalie, I learned a lot just from listening to him talk. That whole thing, people thought it was kind of cheesy, but when he'd go out on the bench before games and with his stick and kind of like, see the game in his own head. That was just the way he'd mentally prepare for every single game. He genuinely was a student of the game. And it's a big reason why, like, we're mental maniacs in that. And it's a reason why it's one of the toughest positions mentally there are in all of sports. That, and like I've said it 100 times, that and being a pitcher in baseball, because the game can be won or lost by you in a matter of minutes. A goalie could have a bad 10 minutes in a period and give up 5 goals, or a pitcher can give up 8 runs in an inning and make it near impossible for your team to come back and win. It's a very difficult position, not just physically and athletically, but just mentally. So, Ryan was a master at that. He knew how to channel that position mentally. And, there weren't many goalies, if any at all, during his time in the league that did it better than he did. So, just a really great career, 11 years with the Buffalo Sabres, I believe it was. Numbers were outstanding. And it was a treat to be there tonight to witness, just to see all the alumni that were in attendance. Rick Jenneret walk up to the podium, and before he could even give a word of his speech out, he goes, "Miller!" Absolutely outstanding. Again, start to finish. And I had a blast. Got a couple great videos, and I couldn't be more enthralled in just being a part of that. I remember there was a game against the Carolina Hurricanes. I believe it was might have been post Briere injury. But I believe the save was on Rod Brindamore. Brindamore was alone in the slot. Puck comes out, and Miller does a diving glove save like this. It wasn't the one paddle save we've seen a bunch of times against Carolina, but it was a diving glove save. And I remember being at that game and just seeing everybody around me just on their feet chanting, like, I think it might have been that year he really went off. And, he was in the MVP conversation. I believe it was the year he might have won the Vezina Trophy. And, he made that save, and everybody just gave him literally a standing ovation for felt like at least 5 minutes, because they cut the commercial right after that. And people did not sit down in their seats until that commercial break was over and they resumed play. It was awesome. And that was one of my favorite Miller moments, just to really see, even when the the chips weren't necessarily down for the organization, but things weren't heading in the direction that you always expected them to, back when we did have Briere and Drury, and you were making that cup run and you were the definitive cup favorite. But just the effect he had on this fan base, and how he galvanized us as a fan base. It really spoke volumes to see that standing ovation. It's kind of like when Palmerville scored, in what ended up being his final game, of his career, at home game, because I believe they ended that season at away. But seeing Palmerville get a standing ovation after he scored a goal in what would be his final home game of his career and as a Sabre, and again, it cuts a commercial, and like, you could see the emotion in his face, and just a couple of my favorite moments, but that specifically, for Ryan Miller, that was one of my favorite live moments. That save itself, it was just incredible. The reaction from the fan base, top to bottom, was just a great night. And then again, Sabres cap off tonight with a big win. Goals coming from Victor Olofsson, who keeps up his hot streak, I think his 19th goal of the season. Alex Tuch with number 22. And then capping it off with a phenomenal OT winner from Dylan Cousins on a unbelievable, end-to-end pass from Rasmus Dahlin, on literally the puck was on a string. It seemed like it's like, the way it arced and fell just perfectly over the blue line, and how Dylan timed it perfectly. It was like watching a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs highlight, a downfield touchdown pass. That's literally what that looked like in hockey form. So I'll hit the peanut gallery here in a second, but and we'll go over the actual in-game stats here in a moment as well. Greg Malcolm, he won the Vezina in 2010. I want to say this might have been that year. I can't remember, but he was absolutely on fire that year. I'm sure a lot of fans were thinking this team is only going on a downward spiral. Not me. Sorokin was the only reason this game wasn't 6-2. UPL match him save for save. Looked awesome. Go Sabres. 100%. Who else can we retire? This team loves these nights. I agree. I mean, I honestly, there's probably nobody. I think the next closest player you could possibly do might be like a Pominville, but that would be a long stretch, honestly. Jason Pominville. I mean, he had 2 stints as a Sabre, had a great career. I'm sure in terms of like players who played in a Sabres uniform, like the points they accrued while playing a Sabre, he's probably pretty up there because he had a lot of great years with Buffalo, and unfortunately left in that deal that sent both him and Marcus Foligno to Minnesota. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's really anybody you can really do that with at the moment, or who's going to be retiring soon. I don't think Kyle Okposo would call for his number to get retired. Honestly, he's had a good career, but nothing in the realm of, retiring a player's number. I love that they did a legacy fund in his name for Roswell and Courage of Carly, and all he has done for them in this time here. 100%. I posted that earlier today. I said, it just wasn't that he was, one of the 2 best goaltenders to ever wear a Sabres sweater. It's everything he did away from the rink. The time he put in with different charities and events that he'd organize, and, time he spent at Roswell Park with children who were fighting for their lives, absolutely fighting for their lives. And, the time he gave, you don't see that. I'm not saying this team doesn't do that. I'm sure they do. But like, I don't know. I don't think it was just as embraced now as it was back then in terms of, how, grateful the fans were, how much it was noticed, and, we didn't look past it. Ryan just did so much for this community, and hopefully, certain players on this team kind of pick up that ball and keep running with it, because it does go a long way. Like, it's just, as much as we love this team and love this sport, it doesn't fall at the wayside when players go out of their way to help the community. See it with Bills and Bills Mafia, and the certain foundations, the charities they support. But like in terms of the hockey team, like, I compared Ryan a lot to Pat LaFontaine. LaFontaine did a ton for this community when he was playing for the Sabres. His Companions and Courage Foundation, the Lions Den rooms that he's made in a lot of cancer research centers for children fighting for their lives. It is like an escape to get away from cancer. I believe there was one at Roswell Park, maybe, but there are so many around the country, and it's all because of, Patty and his fight to help people that are fighting for their lives. And, Ryan kind of took that ball and ran with it as well. And he cared so much about those kids that he cared. It wasn't just for a photo, it wasn't a publicity stunt, or it wasn't for a photo opportunity. It was because he cared, and he encouraged his teammates to care too. Patrick Clutta being one of them too, still gives back to this day. Like he made them, not made them, but encouraged them. It's like, hey, like, look how much we mean to this community, and how much they give us, and how much of their time they dedicate to us, and their money they dedicate to us. We need to start giving back to them too. I know we're paid athletes and we're paid like to be here, but at the end of the day, like, this community needs us in these ways as well. And I think Ryan, not Ryan, I don't think he did acknowledge that, and he took it very seriously, and he took pride in his work, and, on and off the ice especially. So I always appreciated Ryan Miller for that, because, again, during these dark years, we've all experienced as Sabres fans. Like, we haven't seen that very, very often. We thought we were going to get it with certain players. We didn't as much. And I look back on those years and I really appreciate the time we got with a guy like Ryan Miller and, what he meant to this community on and off the ice. More comments. Did you see Darlene hit the gritty and Anders Lee face after almost scoring? Yeah, it was phenomenal. That was awesome. Can we seriously get rid of Bryson or at least put Clegg in his place? I wouldn't mind them bringing Clegg back to play with Owen Power. I thought that Clegg did a better job with Owen than Yoki Haru is doing right now because, I mean, he makes me want to pull my hair out. He really does. He's good for a few giveaways every game in his own end, untimely giveaways, a low hockey IQ play. He drives me nuts, man. He's a third pairing defenseman, not a second pairing. Not saying that Clegg is, but I mean, until you find somebody else for that position, I would much rather have somebody else in that spot. Personally, for me, I can't stand to watch Yoki Haru, play soft in front of his own net again, or hesitate too long when making an easy D to D pass. Just stupid, plays that he makes where, the simple play is there, but he doesn't take the simple play. It's annoying. It was like almost not like watching Ristolainen, but there are things that he does that sometimes are Ristolainen-ish, so to speak. Sorokin kept this team in the game. UPL stood tall when it mattered. A butte by Cousins overtime. Love Ryan Miller, Jeremy Benner. Isn't great to see you there, Duane. It was great to see you there too, Chris. Glad we got this, hang out for a little bit. I always enjoy our time, talking hockey, and it's awesome to see you whenever I can, bud. Good friend of mine, good friend of the program, Chris Derrick. Everyone, go check out his YouTube channel if you can. He does post game videos as well. Very passionate Sabres fan. He won the Vezina in 2010. Yep, yes, he did. Again, I think that's when he made that save. The save on Briere and the 3-0 on Boston in 2010 were my favorite saves. Yeah, they're up there, man. There's so many to count, but for me, it was that one because I was just there live for it. It was such a cool experience to be there live. 4 goals in the last 5 games for Olsen, I believe. Yeah, he's on an absolute heater. The ability of Cousins to corral the puck was still myths. Yeah. I just that whole play as it started after the face-off win by Tage, bringing it back, and then again it happened 12 seconds in, but him pedaling back when the patience waiting for that lane to open up, and then him just sailing that pass up and over, perfect timing right onto Dylan Cousins' stick as he crossed the line. It was great. Craig Ramsey should get a nod in my opinion. I mean, again, I don't know personally, his overall stats. I mean, definitely maybe, for sure. I would even consider like Lindy Ruff for what he was, both as a player and a coach to this organization. I could totally see that as well. But right now, I think it might be a while before you see another number ever get retired. It could be a long time, personally. I don't know. I think Yogi Haru got bad habits from his time playing with Darlene. He is trying to match that's ADHD and never play half as good as Rasmus. I agree. I just think that he needs to play a simpler game. He plays very soft in front of his own net. He doesn't. He likes to puck watch a lot. He uses his stick as almost like a windshield wiper in front. He doesn't tie up the stick or take the body. He's a very soft, undersized defenseman, in my opinion. And I just personally, I would like a much bigger body there to play with Owen Power, a good stay-at-home defenseman, to give Power what Samuelsson has given Dahlin this year. I think that the emergence of Matthias Samuelsson and his ability to play an honest game defensively, complements Dahlin so much. I think that's like kind of the blueprint, right? What you want to do with Owen Power, and you got to figure that out. I think that's top of the list for me, at least in terms of the decisions you have to make, if how you're going to improve this team. And I said, I'd still like to see some more, another center brought in, or maybe a scoring winger. I don't know. I would like to see the team also start to reward Peyton Krebs. Maybe bump him up a line. Maybe to that third line where, Casey is playing with Jost and, Olofsson. Maybe bump with how good Olofsson's playing. Sure, I'm not saying Middlestat is playing bad at all. I think he's playing very well. But I think sometimes you got to reward a player. And I know you're trying to create depth there. But I personally, I've loved the way Peyton Krebs has played. And I'd like to see him get some more time. Maybe on the power play. Maybe some more penalty kills, some special teams play. Like, I've loved Peyton Krebs' game so far, as of late, over like the last month. And I think it's time to reward a guy like him for sure. From Robbie Snyder, great game. Great pass from Dahlin to Cousins overtime. Way to go, Sabres. 100%. Nice to hear from you, Robbie. Is there any guys out there that are like Samuelsson? Samuelsson is like a Tallinder. We need a Ludeman, I think. Yeah, that pairing back in the day, Ludeman and Tallinder, they were just a perfect pairing, right? Like, they were so good together. They complemented each other so well. And I think, Tallinder had two different stints here as well, just like Pominville. But, they just complemented each other very well. They were a legitimate top pair top defensive pairing. And they were paired together for years. It's always hard to find those guys, and I hope we do have that with Dahlin and Samuelsson with just a lot more offensive flair, because we all have seen what Dahlin is capable of. Would love another defenseman like Teppo Newman. And honestly, Teppo Newman was just smart, simple defenseman, man. He kept it simple, and he played an honest game and physical when he had to. He wasn't flashy. And yeah, I loved watching Teppo play, even at the end of his career here in Buffalo. He did a phenomenal job, and he was a great leader too. Very, very great leader. Much appreciation, bro. Go Sabres. Go Sabres, Robbie. 100%. I meant Silky Mitts. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant, bud. Something along those lines. But yeah, so we're gonna go over real quick. Before we get too deep into this, go over the Sabres. The box score here. 3-2 Sabres win in overtime. 12 seconds into overtime. Sabres points and goals coming from Dahlin with 2 points tonight. Cousins with a goal. Tyson Jost with an assist. Middlestat with an assist. Olofsson with a goal. Jeff Skinner with an assist. Tage Thompson with an assist. And Alex Tuck with a goal. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen making 24 saves on 26 shots. Coming up with a ton of timely saves when it mattered. Yeah, he's going to let in a stinker every now and then. Personally, I thought that first goal was pretty bad. As a goalie, maybe some goalies would have to read it. I know my buddy Chris Burkle, who was at the game with us as well. He is a goalie as well, and he noticed as well. He was playing so hard on his glove side, cheating over, with a left-handed shot too. He was more playing square to the shooter. Not the puck, and he was too far over on that glove side to really get over in time for that puck that was tipped by. I know JJ Paterka could kind of play that little soft, and a bad giveaway before that. But at the end of the day, like I thought he played that really wrong. So you look at that goal and you wish he probably himself wishes he had it back. But then he comes in and he makes a bunch of timely saves on breakouts and odd man rushes, and he came up big when the Sabres needed him. And we haven't had that a long time, guys, goalies who come up with timely saves when it matters. And UPL has given us that. So it's been a treat to watch him play for sure. Go to the Islanders box score here. Bailey with an assist. Bolivier with an assist. Cizikas with an assist. Matt Martin with a goal, and Brock Nelson breaking, I think it's a 12-game goalless streak with a goal. I think he's their only all-star too. And again, in my opinion, the best player on the list was Elias Sorokin, 42 saves on 45 shots. Again, he was the only reason this game wasn't really lopsided, especially in the first period. He absolutely stood on his head in the first period, making, I think it was 18 or 19 saves in the first period. I think the Islanders only had like 5 shots on net, if that. So Sorokin definitely kept them in this game tonight for sure. And, Sabres get an important 2 points. You wish that it wasn't, you weren't giving the Islanders a point, who's also right in that hunt for the wild card with you. But they gained an important two points. You wish you would have taken the 2 full points against Chicago. They go to they play against Anaheim this Saturday, home again. Another 2 points you desperately need. You have 3 games in hand on a lot of these teams, except for Pittsburgh. Washington, you have 3 games in hand on. You have 3 games in hand on the Islanders. And have 3 games in hand on another team too. Maybe someone in the comments can bring in that up. But yeah, you have with these games in hand, you have to find a way to start stringing together some more wins or grab some loser points here and there, because these games are going to not every game matters, but these games coming up are really going to start to matter, especially when you do have games in hand. Have to take advantage of that. So, I know we have a Leafs matchup coming up soon. I really hope and pray they are wearing the goat head jersey, and I will absolutely be in the building for that game, without a doubt. I appreciate Ryan Miller too, bringing that up in his speech. He loved giving the fans, that great feeling, from the night before when they beat the Leafs. Always awesome. I did take a video, which I do plan real quick. I'm going to try and bring it up on the screen, of like the ending of the ceremony when they raise the banner. I'm going to try and bring it up here momentarily. I'll share the screen, but just again, a really emotional, fun night, just a good night to be a Sabres fan. Through all the rough years you've had it as a Sabres fan, to be able to relive the good times last night, that was a lot of fun. And I appreciate, because, after RJ night last year, you knew they were going to hit this one out of the park for sure, because they've had some duds in the past. The Dominic Hasek retirement ceremony, I've said it many a times, and I'll keep saying it. It was an absolute disaster. They didn't have a single, outside of Rob Ray, who works for the team, they didn't have a single player that Dom played with in attendance. They had Danny Guerin. I want to say it was Rennie Robert, or maybe it was Gilbert Perreault. I can't remember. I want to say it was Rennie Robert. Each side of the banner, they were skating his banner down the ice. It's like, have more respect for that. That thing is about to go up in the rafters. That same day they retired Teemu Solani's number in Anaheim, and they just they hit that one so out of the park. And I felt so embarrassed as a Sabres fan during that night, because it's like, we're hockey heaven, right? Or we're the self-proclaimed hockey heaven. Like that, a night like that where you're retiring the number of the greatest goalie of all time, a guy who, single-handedly took you to the playoffs and the finals. The playoffs all the time, and the finals one year. Owned the Vezina Trophy essentially for the entire time he was in Buffalo. Won it 6 times in 8 years, and honestly, one of the years he didn't win it because he had because Jim Carrey out of Washington had some crazy. I think it might have been his rookie year too. He was like a one-hit wonder, and Dom didn't get that year, even though he put up very Vezina-worthy numbers. Back-to-back Hart Trophy. A guy who deserved kind of what Ryan Miller got tonight. He didn't get it, so that really left a sour taste in my mouth. I think that was kind of like when my faith in ownership and the franchise as a whole started to dip, was that night, and how they dropped the ball there, and everything that kind of snowballed. So to see them finally do these things right, these little things, these fan engagement things that do matter a lot, to finally see them to start doing these things right, it does mean a lot to me as a fan, because for so many years we didn't have much to look forward to. I mean, how many fans had tonight circled on their calendars as the biggest game of the year because of Ryan Miller having his jersey retired and being inducted into the Hall of Fame? A lot of fans did. This will be one of the only sellouts of the year. This is a night we have to go honor Ryan Miller, honor the good times, remember the good times. But luckily, this team has given us a lot to cheer for this year, and looks like they're going to have a fighting chance at playoffs come trade deadline here right around a month. So tonight was just perfect, because as much as we all believe tonight was going to be the highlight of the season, maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. And I hope it's not. I hope we're a few months from now talking about their first time making the playoffs in over a decade. I really do believe, and I believe this team has the ability to do it. I think there's moves that they can make even before the deadline that would make them a better team. And I hope Kevin Adams makes those moves. And just, we had John Buchacross and two goalies when Mike on Martin Luther King Day. And he flat out said it. He said, the time is now to start winning. You have the assets, you have the cap space. You've drafted in the first round 5 times in the last 2 seasons. And I know you want to develop these players and move forward with these players. But the whole point of this game and this business is to win hockey games and to make the playoffs. And he genuinely thinks, and I genuinely think too, that this team has the ability to make a run at the playoffs for the, sorry, my dog is playing with a toy, to make a run at the playoffs this year. Truly, truly do believe that. And I hope they do make those decisions, in the future, over here in the next month. I'm going to see if I can bring up this video real quick for you guys. I will be able to. Just give me one moment and we can kind of relive that moment here together. Just give me 1 second here. Hold on. Can I pause this? I can. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up real quick. And 1 moment. Share screen. Find a window here. Yeah, we're going to share the whole screen. Let's see. Sorry. Here we go. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. I'm going to see if I can expand it here. There we go. Just an unbelievable moment to be a part of.
A legacy forever Buffalo. It's time to raise the legendary number 30 to the rafters.
They knocked us out of the park. Can you guys see that? It's not playing. Okay. I apologize. Let me see if I can try and figure that out. I don't know why it wouldn't be playing. But I definitely want to try and share that. Let me see. Stop sharing. Okay. Let me see if I can find another way to bring that up here. So really sorry about that, guys. Let me see if I can just share that on my desktop. We're going to try that. There we go. Let's give this a shot. Okay. Sorry. Share screen. Window. Here we go. Share. Is it bringing it up? Yes, it is. Here we go. Sorry.
And now, Ryan Miller, a legacy forever Buffalo. It's time to raise the legendary number 30 to the rafters. Congratulations, Ryan, on this prestigious, well-deserved honor, and thank you to the fans who made this ceremony so special. We will continue to celebrate Ryan all throughout the night and the remainder of the weekend. Forever.
So, just a great night to be a part of that. Seeing his family and like the emotional speech he gave. His parents were there, his younger brother, or I'm not sure if it's younger or older brother, Drew. I want to say it was his older brother, Drew, who also played in the NHL. Just a lot of people that meant a lot to Ryan Miller. I got to share that. And of course, us, the fans. You saw signs all over the arena. It's Miller time. Thank you, Ryan Miller. Thanks for the memories. The fans showed out tonight, and they gave him what he deserved. Goalie is such a difficult position. And I can't understate or overstate that enough. Mentally, physically, athletically, like it's one of the most demanding positions in all of sports. And let's be real. This organization, this fan base holds that position to a very, very high standard. The bridge between Hasek and Miller was Baran, and Baran, I still think he even holds a few Sabres records. I think he might even have the longest shutout streak for a Sabres goaltender. He might even have like the longest win streak for a Sabres goaltender. And so like we hold that position to a very, very high standard. And it's difficult to deal with that mentally because, there's know-it-all fans out there. And Ryan kind of alluded to it and joked about it. Somebody in the Seattle Islands, the Wegmans, will tell you what you did or didn't do right or wrong. I think from the game the night before, and then the next you'll be walking down as you're walking your dog, and somebody's grandmother gives you a hug, thanking you for the game from the night before. So it's a very challenging position mentally, and any goalie will tell you, man, like it's difficult even in practice. If you have a bad practice, how that kind of stuff kind of carries over with you into a game. Maybe if you're fighting for the net, with another goaltender, how every save counts, not just in a game, but in practice, fighting those battles mentally. I believe Ryan even had a therapist of his there for while he played in Buffalo. He mentioned her name, how she was able to kind of keep him, level throughout his career in Buffalo, not just with his on ice stuff, but maybe stuff away from the rink, stuff he was going through personally. Like, at the end of the day, they're they're athletes, but they're human beings as well. So, you never know what they're going through away from the rink that might affect their game on the ice. So, it's a very, very demanding position mentally and physically. And I commend Ryan so much for how mentally strong of a goaltender he was throughout his career in Buffalo. And just those really special moments he gave us for such a long time, that we're going to take with us for a long time. And it's so cool to see them start the Ryan Miller Legacy Fund at Roswell Park. I donated $30 of it right after they announced it. I'm hoping, and I tweeted it out, I hope people kind of follow the trend and make that a success right away. He deserves it. Those kids deserve it. For pediatric cancer, they're fighting for their lives. I'll put it in the comments of this thread right after I log off here. So people who do want to donate, to the Ryan Miller Legacy Foundation, to fight pediatric cancer. I know that meant, the Courage for Carly, I know that meant a lot to Ryan, his work with them while he played. And, I'm assuming the work he will continue to do with them hereafter. I'm sure it's going to mean the world to him. So, it was, again, just a fun night, special night for myself and a lot of fellow Sabres fans. And I hope that, Ryan does. I'm not saying I hope he, I know he's going to be in some type of coaching or management role in the NHL. It's a guarantee, 100%. He was already involved, I believe, with picking Team USA to a certain extent. He's is an assistant GM or a GM, some type of role like that. He has that. He's labeled for a position like that, and I hope maybe Buffalo wises up and tries to bring a guy like him into the fold. I know it didn't go too well last time with LaFontaine. Hopefully we learn from our mistakes and bring in a guy like Ryan, who was such a student of the game when he played and has a lot to offer, still has a lot to offer to the game of hockey, and in the future of this game. I would love to see him in type of role like that for Buffalo sometime down the line. I know his roots, not his roots. I mean, his roots are here in Buffalo and, in East Lansing, Michigan, but I do know he has put down roots in, I'm assuming still close to California. I know his wife was an actress. I'm not sure if she is still acting. His family's there. I'm sure they're happy. It was a pretty cool moment to see, hear Ryan say it was nice to have, I love having my son here for this because I can introduce him and show him how great of a city Buffalo is. I hope that's like a foreshadowing to something in the future. I'm sure as us as Sabres fans, we'd love, love, love to see that. I know I would, to see some continuation of Ryan Miller here in Buffalo. Not just this legacy fun, but even more beyond that would be outstanding, for sure. So we have some more comments here. You think Okposo could fill a Mike Greer kind of role? Are you stating still on the ice or with what Mike Greer is doing? I believe it was with San Jose. I mean, I don't know. I really don't know if that's the career maybe like Kyle Okposo has in store for him or expected for himself after hockey. I don't know. We'll see. Ryan Miller used to let in one stinker a game a lot. Yeah, but he still had a Hall of Fame-ish career. And I loved watching him play hockey as a goalie. He was somebody you can model your game after and take a lot, pick apart lots of the positive things from his game and try to apply it to your own. It was absolutely just perfect emotional night. Absolutely, Mike. Thanks again for the tickets, bud. I'm glad we can get there together. 100%. And here's a bunch of you guys telling me the video is not playing. Where did he go next? Where did he go next to in the rafters? RJ alluded that, he would expect Ryan to be neighboring him, even though there is a giant gap between Pat Hasek and RJ. And then there's Gare with the rest of the French connection and Tim Horton on the other side of it. There's a giant gap there, so I'd assume in either side of that. But RJ alluded that he is happy that he's going to be neighboring, in between both of the greatest goalies that ever played for the Buffalo Sabres. So he did say something along those lines, so that's where I would expect him to go, right next to RJ. Can we get Ryan Miller a goalie coach position in Buffalo? I mean, I don't know if he would do something like that. Again, I could totally see him in a management position 100% somewhere down the line. Coaching, sure. I think he'd make a great coach. I think he sees the game very differently than others. You hear the way he speaks about the game, even back when he played here. That's just the philosophical approach he had and just looking at the game from every single angle. There was a reason why the media all flocked to him after every game to hear what Ryan Miller wanted to say, because he had always had a very articulate answer for you and a very detailed and very straightforward answer for you. Hell yeah, man. Glad it worked out. Maybe an advisory, 100%. I totally could see that for Ryan Miller, like an advisory type role, 100%. And why not? Again, he is that, like, he has that type of vision for the game. And I think it would do hockey good to have Ryan Miller still around and contributing to the game in the future. I know Gary Bettman would probably see it that way. He was in attendance tonight. We also heard that news too. Gary Bettman made an announcement that he would totally bring the Winter Classic back to Buffalo when the new stadium is built. That's exciting news to hear because I think we knocked it out of the park for the first one. I was in attendance for that. Didn't like the way it ended, but the way it went from start to finish was phenomenal. Big snow globe here in Buffalo. Hockey game snow globe was a fun experience that I'll never forget. From when I slept out the one night to get the tickets with some friends, having garbage barrel fires smelling like chemical paint all over the Fieldhouse parking lot, getting the tickets that morning, and then attending the game, tailgating before, just an unbelievable experience, and I can't wait to bring that back to Buffalo again. Because I know we'll knock it out of the park again. Hopefully the weather, participates the way it did the first time around, because that just made it so much more unbelievable to be a part that experience. And unfortunately won't be at the Ralph again, but we'll see, how this new stadium turns out and what the outlook we have for it is. And I'm excited. Excuse me. Again, it's after midnight, and I'm so happy I still got, a bunch of you on here commenting and sticking around here with me. He had a straightforward answer to the media for that Lucic hit on him. Yeah, we all remember that for sure. One of his famous sound bites, if not his most famous sound bite, called Milan Lucic a piece of shit when he ran him when playing Boston, and the lack of response from the team. People call that the Lucic a curse on Buffalo ever since that happened, because we didn't respond to it properly. It took us till the next time we played him when Gost had fought him. And even then it wasn't, Gost was very outmatched by Lucic. But there's a lot to remember Ryan Miller for. And hopefully that those memories aren't over with. I still think he has a lot to give to the game of hockey. I think he knows he has a lot left to give to the game of hockey. And I don't think that's the last we're going to see of him, for sure. Whether it's with the Sabres or some on another organization, I think he has a lot left to still give to the game of hockey. So with that being said, guys, I'm going to hang up and listen and get to bed. They do have to work in the morning, but I always appreciate you guys coming around, sticking around with me in the post games. These are always a lot of fun, especially after a big Sabres win like tonight, on a very emotional night, for a lot of us Sabres fans, with Ryan Miller being inducted to the Sabres Hall of Fame, and of course having his number retired, raised up with the greats like LaFontaine, Hasek, RJ, Gare, the French Connection, and Tim Horton joins their names. And it was a pretty cool way he opened up his speech, how when he was first drafted by Buffalo and signed his pro contract, and had that moment in the arena, with it empty, the ice wasn't, up and running yet, and had that moment in the arena to really take it all in, as he stated. And he made a comment about looking up at those banners. At the time, I'm not sure if it was just the French Connection and Tim Horton, I think he said. I think it would have been that. But him making a comment, so I hope one day if I give this everything I've got, that I could join those guys up there. And he did. And he deserves it. He deserves all of that. So remember, guys, this is brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case over George Urban Boulevard for all your game night, Sabres game night, and Bills game day needs. Bills with a big game this Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think there might be a bit of a dog in that game, but can't wait to see Buffalo pull out a win there. Pull out a win Saturday against the Anaheim Ducks, Sabres. Go Bills, go Sabres. I'll hang up and listen. You guys have a fantastic night. Get some sleep, and we'll see you Saturday.